Okay, I'm going to work through some of the bookwork from 2.5, and the hope is that you would watch this before you take your quiz on Wednesday. On Wednesday, you're going to take a quiz on Power School Learning, a 10-point quiz, some multiple choice, and some matching. And I was going to start with number 30 from your textbook because this is what a lot of your quiz is. I can't actually ask you to graph, and I can't monitor that you're not using your calculator. So number 30 in the textbook gives you some different transformations and asks you to write the equation. So that's what you can expect a lot of on your quiz. So number 30 says you're doing these transformations on y equals the square root of x, and then it just lists some transformations. So number 1, it says shift it up 2 units. That's pretty easy. Okay, so shift that up 2 units. That would be y equals the square root of x plus 2. Okay, then it says reflect about the y-axis. If you're reflecting over the y-axis, that means you're negating the x. So whichever axis you're reflecting over, you negate the opposite variable. So it would be the square root of negative x. Okay, and then this last one is what makes this tricky. The last part says shift it left 3 units. Okay, here's the thing. The complicated thing about shifting left and right when you're also reflecting over the y-axis. When I go to do that, I have to still keep this negative on the outside. Okay, so it would be negative, and then shifting to the left means x plus 3. But that x plus 3, that shift to the left, has to be in parentheses like this. So then, final answer, y equals negative x minus 3. So although it is shifted to the left, you'll notice it is going to be shifted to the left, but it does have a subtraction sign right here. You can plug this into your calculator and double check. You're going to see all three of those transformations there. So that one is kind of tricky. Okay, the next one I wanted to do is number 35. 35 I also like. It talks about, it gives you x-intercepts, and I hate the fact that the book doesn't give you them as coordinates, but it says that the x-intercepts are -5 and 3. Okay, and then it asks, what would the x-intercepts be with all these transformations? Well, A says f of x plus 2. Well, that would be left 2. Okay, so if I'm going to shift those x-intercepts left 2, they would now be -7 and, oh yikes, and 1. Okay. And then B I'm going to skip, but since it's f of x minus 2, you'd be moving them to the right 2. Okay, part C is, this one's interesting too. This is 4 times f of x. Okay, that's like a stretch, but this is 4 times the y value. Well, guess what? The y value for these x-intercepts happens to be 0. So 4 times 0, still 0. 4 times 0 here, still 0. So guess what? The x-intercepts don't change. It's still -5 and 3. I don't know why my pen keeps wanting to make my parentheses straight lines. Okay, and then part D is a f of -x, so that means negate the x value, which is ultimately going to cause a reflection over the y-axis, so it becomes +5 and -3. There we go. Alrighty. Next, 47 is just graphing. So if it's 4 times the square root of x, that is a stretch. Okay, so if I take it times 4, that's going to make the y values much higher. So like if this is the original, if this is the square root of x, 4 times the square root of x would be like up here. Okay, so then just for fun, if I had asked for 1/4 times the square root of x, it would be much closer. Okay, that's called a compression. I didn't ask for that, but just for fun. Okay, next one, last one, right here, 70 part E. 70 part E gives you this graph, and it asks for 1/2 times f of x. Okay, that means literally 1/2 times all of the y values. You're not going to change the x values, you're just going to change the y values. Okay, so the very first coordinate right here, -4, -2, I'm going to take, that's going to become -4 times -2 times 1/2. That would be -4, -1. So that point is going to be right here. Okay, this one has the same y value, so it's going to be -2, -1. Okay, let's do this one right here. So 2, 2 times 1/2 would be 2, 1. So this point, and last one, we've already played with -2. -2 would become -1. So it would look like that. Okay, so some of the other ones in part E, or in number 70 that I assigned, like D is shifting it left and down. F is asking for you to negate all of the x values, which is ultimately going to be a reflection over the y-axis. And G is then this time kind of like what we just did, except instead of messing with y, you're going to mess with the x value. Please email me any questions that you have. I want to make sure you're ready for this 10-point quiz on Wednesday.